Yeah.
So I think that we're at a very fortunate time with Jits because right now it's our thing.
Yes.
But say it does turn into, say CJI becomes like a UFC of sorts.
Bowl.
Welcome to the Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. It's Joey here. It's JT. And today we're going to talk about what it's like when you're at a party and everyone at the party trains jiu-jitsu. Now, here's the deal. I used to have some misconceptions about this. I remember when I started jiu-jitsu, I thought, fuck, like parties where everyone trains jiu-jitsu must be like everyone's super hard. You know, like a bunch of tough, everyone trained up, everyone eyeing each other off, like competitive.
Sure.
And I think maybe in some of the early comps I went to, there were a couple of bad actors that were like, you know, come and like bring some beef to it.
Acting like that.
You remember early days, like Aussie Jiu-Jitsu scene?
Potentially. I mean, there's always one or two sociopathic, antisocial people.
Yeah. And so I, you know, and at that stage, you're not going to any parties where everyone trains jiu-jitsu, right?
No. You're the guy in the corner looking around, that meme of like, they don't know, I could heel hook all of them in 5 seconds.
Well, I mean, I was like a 6-week white belt at the time. So,
okay, fair enough. Maybe not.
But in any case, let's cut to like, we're at the CJI after party.
Sure.
Right? So whatever, 4 weeks ago, we're in Vegas.
Yes.
We're at a party. Everyone trains jiu-jitsu.
Everyone trains jiu-jitsu.
Right? And so I guess what I wanted to mention is that it is actually, I feel, the direct opposite of this, of my earlier preconception.
It is, yeah.
And it blows me away, first and foremost. Here's the shit. You're at a party, you see cauliflower ears everywhere, right?
Yeah.
You see plenty of stees. I think that jiu-jitsu people, like on the whole these days, like, except for you showing up in shorts, but I think everyone else.
Get lost.
I think people, you know, like nice clothes. Like
I had my Lady Hammer pants, all right? I looked stylish.
You pulled those off, you did. But you know, like people got the fresh fades and like all that. And then you see like, oh, these cats are looking cool. And then you see the chunky ears and you're like, all right, jiu-jitsu cats. And you can't help but, like, I don't know about you guys listening, but I'm going to make an assumption here that you can't help but ogle other people's cauliflower ears. Like you go out somewhere and then you see someone cauliflower ears and you're like, oh shit. And you start miring their ears a little bit. And then, you know, you're usually looking for eye contact, right?
Yeah.
Because you kind of want to be like, oh, hey, like, you know.
Yeah, the connect.
That's right. And so, but it's different. It's different when you're at a big party like that because obviously they're a grappler because this is a grappler's event party.
Yep.
Or a grappling event party. And so you don't need to establish like, hey, man, do you train jiu-jitsu? I couldn't help but notice your cauliflower ears. But people look ferocious, like look tough. Yeah. And the classic demeanor of most people, right? And this is probably not specific to jiu-jitsu, but the classic demeanor is like to kind of look like you don't give a shit, you know? So you're with your crew, you're kind of standing around, and most people, I do feel like this is a thing where it's like you're kind of trying to posture a little bit to those around you.
Potentially.
And it's just us being human, right? I think that's just a part of it. And so I had this specific example when we were at that section where the Prince and Jack were off playing blackjack, and you, me, and Ola were there. But there was a period where you and Ola were like somewhere else around there, and
sure.
I kind of went to this sort of. I felt like being alone, so I was kind of at this little section here, and a couple of grapplers pull up next to me. Right now, they didn't acknowledge me in any way. There was no, you know, there's none of that, and there were other people at this party, not just grapplers, right? But I'm looking at these dudes. I'm like, oh, these dudes look like they know some shit, you know. Sharp haircuts, clothes, ears, etc.
Sure.
And then some more of their friends come over, and it's Fionn Davies and Gabriel Souza.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, okay, these guys are somebodies.
Yeah,
you know,
sure,
like
sure.
it's not just a punter. This
not
is
randoms.
This is like royalty,
legit
here. You know, and I'm the, you know me, I'm the guy. I'm looking for the opening.
Yes.
I'm looking for the. Hey man, what's up? Where you from?
How
you know.
Doing? Yeah.
Didn't get it from those guys. I went and interjected myself and said hello to Gabrielle and Fionn all the same. Told Fionn that I thought she's great and that she inspires a lot of people back here in Australia.
That's true.
Which I know she does. But people look ferocious and then you go and talk to them and they're super nice.
They're very friendly.
They're so respectful and they're like, oh shit, you train, like, and you know, like we do this too where it's like, oh, like you start like almost bowing a little bit and like doing the Japanese like support your hand as you shake the hand and like
that's Korean too.
You start oozing this like very non-threatening posture,
very respectful.
Yeah, it's like an and it's not like everyone's a trained killer, right? We play a sport, like sure people got some skills, but it's not like we're street fighters. It's just
No, but you may have earlier that day witnessed that guy break another dude's leg cold-blooded.
Perhaps,
and then
yeah.
just get the up like it's ain't no thing, right?
Yeah, but it's not like, it's not like we're walking around like fucking Lethal Weapons, like just waiting to uncoil on some unsuspecting douchebag.
Well,
I mean, some people
maybe,
are, right?
maybe.
But, we're not Joe Schilling out here. But so people are so nice, and that postural thing where it's like, oh shit, yeah, of course, man. Like, hey, what's up? You train, like, yeah. I find that so funny because it's like everyone has this exterior of like hard. And then like you just knock it a little bit, and it's like big softy on the inside. This episode is brought to you by Parry Athletics. Parry Athletics make the best no-gi training gear in the world of jiu-jitsu. They've been a show sponsor of ours for some time now. We love them. We love their gear. They make the greatest training shorts, both for in the gym, lifting weights and doing your mobility, as well as being on the mat. You can get 20% off when you use the code bulletproof20 at checkout. Go to parryathletics.com and make sure to use the code bulletproof20 to get 20% off.
What has surprised me about elite level jiu-jitsu folks when you get them together, which is actually probably where I witnessed it more was probably the previous ADCC, like 2022, because it was at that particular after party that Gordon Ryan was actually having a good time. The previous one, he was kind of sitting in the corner by himself, not having a good time.
Right.
But he just beaten Andre Galvão, and he'd beaten everyone else. And
yeah.
So he actually had his shirt off. He was like...
he looked happy.
He looked happy, which is not always the way necessarily for Gordon. And he was chatting with everyone. He was chatting with Bushesha, and not that I got in on that conversation, but I randomly ended up in a circle with Shanji, Hodja, Braulio, Victor Estima, and some other elite world champion. And I'm like, why am I in this circle? I'd just been like pulled in. They're talking about crypto. I was like, what is going on right now? They're hammered, right? They're hammered. But they're just talking about, oh man, like, yeah, Bitcoin. And like, they're like really like out of it. But and they're all having a good time. Like the warmth and the friendliness is unmatched. Very inclusive.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I'm like, these guys are my heroes. Act cool. The only way to act cool is to be hammered.
Jiu-jitsu, huh? Am I right?
It's like, nah, bro. We're talking about FIFA. I smashed this guy, FIFA Online, blah, blah, blah. Actually, that's what surprised me. It's not just the friendliness, because obviously in those circles, they've all known each other a lifetime, right? With the like top level elite cats. But it's, the discussions are just not jiu-jitsu related. That's the thing I was thinking there's going to be a bit more jiu-jitsu chat here. Nope, we're talking about cars. We're talking about video games. We're talking about, random things.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the kind of the silliness in that from our point of view, right? Where it's like, well, surely they're just talking about jiu-jitsu all the time. Like, no, they live it all the time and have been.
They're having a break.
Yeah, but I feel like I vibe with. It's surprising to you when you're like these people that are like whatever the elites gods in that thing, that they do things in their life like normal people. You're like, they got to go and like take their car to the mechanic and pay rego and shit too.
Yeah, 100%.
It's it's refreshing. I find like say, and I guess there's I guess like Vegas was obviously a bit of a what's the word? It's a bit of a special one in that way because everyone's there for those events. And so people are probably kind of generally on a positive note with things. But I just found like around like those days surrounding the comp, I would just I'd see someone on the street.
Just say what's up.
With gnarly ears. And I'd be like, hey, what's going on? And people would just be down for a chat.
Yeah.
And like, so, hey, where are you from, man? And like often they might know us, right? They listen to the show or some shit. But often people are just like, oh, where do you train? Like, what's the deal? What's it like over in Oz? Like, really receptive. It makes me, like I've sort of ranted on the show before about about how sort of frustrated I get at people's general inability to be social with others.
Yeah.
I think it's a real like missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But I feel like at that kind of thing, people are just like making the most of like connecting with strangers.
Definitely.
It's like I'm here for it.
I think actually this is a jiu-jitsu centric thing. And don't get me wrong, full respect to the MMA crowd, but I have found MMA to be more cliquey because depending on what camp you're in, that guy might have broken your best mate's eye socket. So therefore, we're not so cool now. You know what I mean? Like you might have been hating on that person a long time and still not really love that person, They might have said bad things about your best mate's mum, dad, and family. So you're like, I'm not going to be so cool with them. And that's the interesting thing. Jiu-jitsu as a community, some of the greatest rivals end up being, the best friends. I don't think you see that in all combat sports. Obviously, there is not obviously. You would guess there would be respect between top level opponents and things like that. But jiu-jitsu as a community, it's just once you're in the crew, like you're in, And what I've found, and I don't know if this is just a byproduct of jiu-jitsu still kind of small compared to other sports. Like you'd mentioned before, you're not going to be able to just go hang out with Roger Federer. You're like, I play tennis.
Yeah.
You're Roger Federer. You play tennis. We should talk.
Hey, come on our podcast.
No, that's not going to happen. But with Buchecha, if you see him and like Hodger too, like he's the GOAT and he's really friendly. He'll chat to anyone. Like and I don't know if that's a byproduct of him as a person or just this jiu-jitsu thing we're involved with.
Yeah, I think it's just, I do think that it's just the time like the age of jiu-jitsu and where we are on that timeline.
Yeah.
I think that you could almost feel at the last event that there was a further degree of separation from the athletes
starting to change
than there was at the previous ADCC.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yes.
Like even when you were saying like being down in the thing, they separate coaches and athletes. It's all becoming more officiated.
Yes.
So in that way, yeah. But of course, if you can get to the after party, you can rub shoulders with whoever, right?
Everybody's in.
Yeah. I've had that situation a couple of times recently where I've come to training with some water, but I haven't had any electrolytes, and I've finished training and I've had to go to a convenience shop and buy myself some kind of sports drink, usually a Gatorade. Cost me like $7. It's small and it really doesn't contain that much of the good stuff that I'm looking for, which are the electrolytes. Sodi, on the other hand, is my partner when it comes to hydration, and I'd simply just run out of it. And it sucks because I got to go buy expensive stuff that doesn't do anywhere near as good a job. I'm super stoked that we've been restocked with the Sodi, and now I can be properly hydrated when I train jiu-jitsu. This has always been an underexplored aspect of my training, and I'm so stoked that we now have these guys in place to support us and also the listeners of the show. So if you want to be hydrated on the mats so that you can perform at your best and have the best mental clarity while training, get yourself some Sodi. Go to sodi.com.au. That's SODII.com.au. Get yourself some delicious hydration salts and use the code bulletproof15 for 15% off. Go to sodi.com.au. Get yourself hydrated.
Yeah.
I do think, I don't reckon, I was trying to think about what makes the jiu-jitsu community vibe, say at a party like that, what it is. I do think that, again, because of the age of the game and because we're all it's very young and we're all on this journey very early on, most of the people who are at those events play the sport.
Yes.
Most of the people at ADCC and CJI do jiu-jitsu.
They all do it, yeah.
Right? And maybe there was a time for that with MMA. It could have been very short, right? When it was an underground thing.
Sure.
And I'm sure if you spoke to people who went to some of those earlier, they'd be like, oh yeah, everyone was super cool and tight. But now there's fans of the sport who don't play.
There's also promoters, there's agents.
But once something has mass appeal, it brings in outsiders, right?
Sure.
So then you think about a crowd, like you think about the crowd at the American Open.
Sure.
They don't all play tennis.
No.
They're sports fans, they're traveling, they want to go see the spectacle, etc. So there's not necessarily a commonality amongst the people.
Yeah.
So I think that we're at a very fortunate time with Jits because right now it's our thing.
Yes.
But say it does turn into, say CJI becomes like a UFC of sorts. There's going to be a bunch of there and you're going to be like, hey man, you train? They're going to be like, what? No, not me. Fuck that. I'm just here to watch.
I'm the finance guy.
And you'll be like, bro, that's so weird.
That guy.
I normally like all the people that are here, but I don't respect you. Get the fuck out of my face.
That's exactly what I would say.
Let me bring my pitbull JT over here. He's going to fuck your whole night up.
Well, actually, what I like about jiu-jitsu is that there's a lot of in-jokes. Like, you know, like any culture you're a part of, whether it's memes or whatever it might be. What I got from being in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, actually, is like jiu-jitsu scoring, but relevant to non-jiu-jitsu events. So if somebody were to trip and just like stack and put a hand down and then recover, one of the guys would give 2 points for the sweep.
Well, you're watching soccer or something?
No. We're just in the cafe or something.
Right, yeah.
And you just see someone eat shit and get like, you know, like just slip and land on their back, and someone would go 2. Or like you see someone slip and recover and they'd be like, advantage, you know, like this. You know, they're just little funny scenarios where it's kind of like you're like, what are you people doing? Because what I've found with jiu-jitsu folks, because we spend a lot of time intimately, furiously hugging each other, roughing each other up, you lose the boundaries to intimacy.
Yeah.
You know, like jiu-jitsu folks, you know how they go, I can't remember. It's
you instantly
we're
like
huggers.
Build rapport.
You know, jiu-jitsu is hugging. We are huggers. So somebody comes in for the handshake or whatever, and you're like, oh shit, they got an underhook. You son of a bitch. Overhook. You know, like little exchanges can become grappling matches, right?
Yeah.
But because we already have gotten past the bullshit of, oh, how do I shake the hands? And it's always like, yeah, bro, a bit of a hug. Like even someone you don't know, it's
super touchy.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
So then that means you bypass a lot of other bullshit formalities too, I believe.
Yeah.
Depending on who you're with.
Oh, yeah.
And you just get straight into the shit, right? You just get into like, oh, what's cracking, man? And so you can get really close to somebody, even if you've only just met them, provided you have that mutual understanding of jiu-jitsu. That's what I think is interesting about it.
Yeah, it's almost like a shortcut to like connection with somebody.
Realness.
It's like get all that superficial shit out of the way. Like we've already hugged and shared sweat.
Yes.
And then even if you don't actually train with that person, but somehow that transfers to you both understand, like the physical thing is okay. Whereas with a total stranger, the physical thing is very kind of clinical. It's like, a handshake or, you know, a kiss kind of thing.
Man, jiu-jitsu folks are shameless when it comes to jiu-jitsu. You could be any social situation. They're like, no, look, push the tables back. Push the De La Riva hook goes here. I put my foot here. He did this. And someone comes in. Someone starts coaching. Someone's like, no, don't do it like that. You got to take the sleeve grip before you know it.
I'm not the guy that's involved. I'm always like, I got my shit. My white shirt's clean. I'm just going to stand over here. You guys can fuck around on the dirty floor.
Bro, I'll go there, man. I went straight to the outside heel hook on who are our friends from Queensland who came visit us at Brewdog.
Ebony and
her partner.
Shit.
Congratulations to you guys.
They got engaged.
Yep, that's awesome. I just straight away, I pulled guard. I went.
You did when we're having some
shin
drinks.
to shin. I pulled the leg in. I threw the leg over. I went to the reap. I went straight to the outside heel hook.
Kyle
Carl
McKinnon.
Shout out.
Congratulations, you guys.
Yeah. So I was like, I got no shame to turn it into a clinic in a heartbeat because I learned from the best and they don't care either. So that's what it is.
So on recapping, I think at the Jiu-Jitsu house party, everyone's there. People all look ferocious. There's almost never any beef.
No.
And you can talk to anyone and they're going to be cool.
Yeah.
And they look tough, but they're all big softies on the inside. And if you're new to the game, hopefully you can have the same experience when you go to your first party full of grapplers.
Yeah. Awesome.
Bam, bam.